Aston Martin finally is embarking on the next chapter of its story. The new DB11 marks the end of an era started back in 2004 with the DB9, which went on to spawn V8 Vantage, DBS, and then Vanquish and Rapide. DB11 has a new aluminium and composite structure, a virtually all-new turbocharged V12 downsized from 6 litres to 5.2, but with 600 horsepower and 516 pounds-foot of torque from just 1500 RPM. It's got a genuinely new aesthetic, and its development has been headed up by ex-Lotus ride and handling genius Matt Becker. We've travelled to Bridgestow's amazing test facility near Rome to drive an early prototype and grab a few minutes of rough and ready video too. So this is an early taste of what DB11 might become.
Okay, so this is a pretty cool thing to do actually. The car is, DB11 is about 80% there, they reckon. And we're getting a chance to drive it at Bridgestow's test track. This thing is such a big deal for the company. New chassis, new turbocharged engine, new E-Pass. So it's the proper next chapter for Aston Martin after so long of just tweaking what they've got, you know, changing little bits, bringing out new derivatives, but effectively the same car. As you can hear, the engine might be turbocharged, but it sounds great. The throttle response is good. And it's one of those cars that just feels pretty intuitive when you get into it. You're not thinking, it's got much quicker steering response, but you're not thinking about the steering being edgy and spiky because it's all just been tuned so well together. And you get such an insight when you come on a day like this of just how intense that process is of getting every little system to work. So the steering is 13:1 ratio, I think. A Ferrari, for some context, is generally about 11.8, and the old car would have been more like 15:1. So it is a lot quicker, but there is feel. Look, I'm just getting some understeer here, and you can get that through the car. But I think initially the biggest impression is that you get a lot of information through the seat. You can really feel what the car's balance is doing through the seat of your pants, which is a really nice sensation. This is a big old car, but it does feel pretty agile. It is quite soft in roll initially, so you turn and you feel the body roll build, but then it sort of stabilises, and then you've got mild understeer and then just a little bit of oversteer on the exit. Traction really good. You know, this thing's got so much torque, but it's hooked up. It feels good. I'm impressed by the steering feel, particularly for E-Pass, by the traction, and the throttle response is good enough that you feel you can play with the balance of the car a little bit, which is what you want from a big front engine rear wheel drive car. Gearbox is the ZF 8-speeder, pretty familiar, quick, smooth, all those things it always is. There's 3 different damper modes. They're still being finalised, GT, Sport and Sport Plus. And they're sort of saying GT mode's about there, but they're not sure how far to go with the other 2 modes. They're getting there. And then there's 3 drivetrain modes as well, the same, just for the response, throttle response, gearbox response. But for a hacked about old prototype, it feels pretty well sorted, I have to say. Yeah, I do love the way it turns in. The body roll is there, but it doesn't get in the way. And you can just feel the car. The steering is different. There's no doubt about that. Astons that we're used to driving have got a real gritty, granular feel to them. This is smoother, this E-Pass system, but there's still detail in it, and you do feel connected to the car. For a big old GT, it's pretty good fun, I have to say. They are on the way to building a really fun car. And the engine's still worth revving. You know, it's not like a turbo that gives up the ghost. You get the reward if you stay on the throttle. It's just lovely through there. Bit of understeer, and then you can just play with the balance on the exit. New structure feels stiff. Steering's just really responsive. Yeah, feels pretty good fun. I can't wait to try it properly. But first impressions, admittedly in a not very real world environment, are pretty good. Yeah, it's going to be quite a car, this. The torque is mega. But for a big old bus, I think it is the agility and the sense of cohesion in the whole car. And we've been around some perimeter roads nearby, and the ride quality does feel really good, a step on from DB9. So yeah, this is pretty good. This is a pretty encouraging first taste of a really crucial car for Aston. God, yeah, definitely do this all day.
To watch Henry drive the new Honda NSX, click on the left, and for the new Alfa Giulia, click on the right. And make sure you don't miss all of our Evo diaries by subscribing to the channel.